Ian is right. Greg could be working on getting to the most optimal grazing and make it to 1 acre per animal if he were working on beef cattle for food. But Greg is correct for his management style. I think Greg is the hesitations that he has. So March, which this March has been kind of an anomaly, but usually March is muddy. Greg calls it March Mud Month, and so for Greg, the thought of having 700 cattle as opposed to 370 in March just sounds like a wreck. And I think we're both kind of on the same page that it's a wreck. Greg has been growing his herd too, though. So
yeah, like we wintered more animals this winter than he ever has.
Yeah,
the 269 animal units is more than, or 65 is more than we've ever had or Greg's ever had in the winter. Usually he's down to 300 animals. And like not animal units, like head, usually down to like 300 head, and we have 379 that we wintered. So full 80 basically more. That's everything, by the way. It's not. That's why you want to be sort of thinking about animal units when you talk about that kind of stuff, because a bunch of those are calves and anyway.
Totally off topic, but how do the sheep do in trees? Have a friend that wants to graze in a Christmas tree farm. I think they'd eat the pine trees, like.
They nibble on the, especially especially the spring, if there's like tender new growth. I bet they'd nibble on the.
They don't touch cedars, but cedars. The only thing
really high terpenes.
The only thing that'll eat cedar is a goat.
But yeah, they probably nibble on like the green leaves of the green
if they can
spring
reach
needles if they can reach it. But it also depends on what's underneath.
Yeah, if there's some really good forage, they're probably, I don't know, and maybe that's not a bad thing to just nibble on it. I don't know that they're gonna defoliate the whole trunk all the way up.
Yeah, and they can't reach that high.
Maybe do something like stick them in on a couple trees that are not something you're gonna sell, like the reject trees. Stick them in there, see what they do. If they eat the leaf, or if they eat all the needles and they ruin the tree, then you probably don't want to graze them. But
if there's any kind of forage underneath, my intuition is like they won't really bother the trees.
My thing, what I think is like they might. Like you said, if there's forage under there, they might nibble on the trees just to get a little bit extra in their diet, but I don't think they're gonna
defoliate them.
Just absolutely strip them. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. You were talking pine trees, but like when we turn the sheep into a paddock, especially in the fall when there's a bunch of we have a crazy amount of oak trees here. It's insane. But if they'll go into the woods and start munching on acorns.
But they don't strip bark like a goat will. They don't, and like, actual trees, or, not on like deciduous trees as opposed, or coniferous. Deciduous as opposed to coniferous.
Yeah.
Coniferous, they'll nibble on the needles just because, low to the ground.
They'll also eat oak leaves sometimes too.
They'll eat the leaves off the tree, but they won't strip a bark. No. So if there's no leaves where they can reach, they're not going to hurt the tree.
Yeah, even cattle will eat like, especially like honey locust leaves.
Oh yeah, they'll eat oak leaves too. They'll eat.
Yeah.
They'll eat.
Not as much as like a sheep or a goat, but
they'll eat. What is it that they really like?
The honey locust leaves. I've seen that a lot.
There's another one that they really like. I can't think of it. It's not hedges. There's one that they just crush. Maybe I'm thinking of honey locust.
It might be honey locust. The thing I can think of is them reaching up and eating the honey locust leaves.
They like no, not hickory.
Hackberry?
Hackberry, maybe.
No.
I don't know. There's one that I'm thinking of, but like, doesn't matter. They like leaves. Do you guys ever see a South Pole bull on a Dexter? No, but Greg was trying to get us to try it.
Get us to try it on our own operation someday.
Yeah.
And tell them about it.
You should get a Dexter cow and bring a South Pole bull to it. I'm curious to see it. I'm like, Greg, you do it.
Yeah.
You get a Dexter cow.
We've talked about it before, but so he knew somebody who did it with Charlet Dexter cross, and it worked. It brought the Charlet size down significantly. I don't know why the heck you would ever want to do that, but anyway.
Well, what happened is he bought these Dexter cows for cheap, like real cheap at the sale barn, and he had a really good easy calving Charlet bull, which was good genetics.
Yeah.
So when he bred it to him, those calves, they had, they're half Charlet. They looked a lot like Charlet, and so when he sold them, he
did a lot better.
increased the the calves were worth
Yep.
more than their mothers were, so therefore he made a profit on them.
Yep.
That's why he did it.
Breeding up. That's what that's called.
Yep. And we've
Yeah.
talked about that in
Yep.
in
I think there's even a
previous-
video on the Dexter deal. Like there's a
Yeah.
clip on YouTube of us discussing in detail that Dexter piece.
Mhm.
So
Look it up.
look it up. If people really want to hear the spiel again, then let us know. But we're more than happy to get into it.
Green Wolf the Puppy says, I have heard of sheep being used in grapevines and under solar panels. That would be an interesting mix with Christmas trees. Yeah.
The solar panel thing, I think it was White Oak Pastures.
And
They do that.
George says sheep love pine needles. So
Yeah, there you go.
I figured they would like them. Just
Yeah.
because, the whole thing with vitamin C,
Yeah.
I mean, it's good for them.
Yeah, what white pine tea, hemlock,
Yeah.
eastern hemlock tea, Thuja canadensis. I'm not talking about like the hemlock that's related to carrot. I'm talking about like the pine tree. The hemlock related to carrot is toxic and will kill you, but the pine tree hemlock, Thuja canadensis, is super high in vitamin C. It kind of tastes sweet too, a little bit like honey pine needles. But anyway, more tea talk.
I've heard of people using, kind of off topic, but on the same note of grazing animals in multi-level production.
Meaning,
Like they were using goats in olive orchards or whatever you call
olive orchards. Yeah,
and the goats would climb up in the olive trees and prune the olive trees
interesting.
for the farmer. I don't know if they were doing olives production or if it was like they had the goats and then they had the olive trees and they were just trying it and seeing what they get for themselves, or whether they're actually using it as a tool.
I think you know John Siskovich, right? You know what I'm talking about,
yep.
Like from Connecticut.
Yep.
I think
He's the one with the brewery, right?
Yeah, but I think so. Like they grow a lot. It's like a farm brewery, so they grow a lot of hops. Their. I think he was using sheep in the hop yard to because you need airflow in between the hop vines. So you usually you would trim the bottom several feet of leaves or whatever in order to allow better airflow in between them. And I think he just ran sheep in there and they trimmed up
all the leaves.
Trimmed up the leaves a couple feet.
But they didn't take the vines probably.
Well, yeah. Okay, well, I mean,
they just stripped the leaves.
Yeah, they would just strip the leaves.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So anyway,
that's actually
interesting.
That'd be kind of cool because in that scenario,
yeah,
it'd be exactly what you want them to do: is strip as high as
they can reach. Yeah, exactly. Huh. But anyway, I think he's made videos about it potentially. I don't know how successful or unsuccessful it was in the long term, but
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Said I'm so curious about that cross. Yeah.
That kind of stuff gets us thinking too about crossing stuff to try to produce an optimum animal for your environment. It's super interesting,